Right everyone, it is Finn here and welcome back to another African Cup of Nations video, where today we're going to be talking about the Indomitable Lions, also known as the Cameroonian national team, and what to expect from them at Afcon 2023. Now of course, you guys know I absolutely love my African football, and as I said a few weeks ago, I would like to talk about every single African nation at least once heading into Afcon 2023.
Perfect.
And of course, as Cameroon have won the competition in 2017, they came third place in the most recent installment, and they had an absolutely brilliant World Cup. I thought we might as well talk about them. Of course, don't forget to put in the comment section down below which African nation you would like me to talk about next. But looking at Cameroon, it just had to be their turn. As we know, they've got an absolutely phenomenal team, but although they've got brilliant individuals, things haven't been quite, well, paradise for them. Currently in qualifiers, they are second place in their group, and if they end up losing to Burundi somehow, they won't even qualify.
I'm in danger!
So the fact that I say this is how to get the best out of them in the tournament, they might not even qualify, which would be a major worry for them. But of course, they've got brilliant individuals. We obviously saw at the World Cup what they're capable of, and I'm sure they'll end up qualifying. Obviously, we're going to be talking about the team as a whole in today's video, what to expect from them in the tournament, what their strong and weak points are, and ultimately what their best possible starting 11 for the competition is. As I said, I've done this with multiple other African nations, and if you would like me to do yours next, let me know in the comment section down below. But of course, jumping into what I believe is the best possible starting 11 for Cameroon is I've gone for a 4-3-3 formation. Once again, it's the formation that they've used for absolute years now, and it always does seem to work the best. And in terms of a goalkeeper, as much as I wish someone like Andre Onana was capable to play for them, as we know, he has retired from the national team now, so I've gone for the likes of Devis Sapasi, who was absolutely brilliant at the World Cup. Obviously had an absolute stellar performance versus Brazil, and I would actually put him down as the reason to why they ended up beating Brazil. Ultimately, for the Cameroon national team, although at 30 years old, only made his debut for them in 2021, has gotten 4 clean sheets in 9 games, is not bad, currently playing his football in the Saudi Arabian League, which, as we know, is probably the best league in world football at the moment. Once again, jokes aside, at the end of the day, although no, his team, Ava, hasn't necessarily been that strong in the Saudi League, I just think his record for the Cameroon national team has been so brilliant, and as he was such a good fit as an Andre Onana replacement at the World Cup, I am going to put him down as the goalkeeper. I think his reflexes are absolutely brilliant, I think his judgment is absolutely brilliant. As I said, as a Manchester United fan, I would love for Andre Onana to be in the squad, but once again, as he's chosen not to represent them again in the future, I do think a Passy is the best option. Now, heading into the defense of this Cameroon national team, starting off with our fullbacks, once again, it's the good old reliable of Noho Tolo and Collins Faye. Once again, it's almost like the Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold of African football.
Good guess, but actually no.
And you know what? For this Cameroon national team, I don't think there's a better fit as their fullbacks. Looking at the fullbacks, the one thing people have said over the last few years is in terms of goals, they don't contribute enough because they are not modern day fullbacks. They don't necessarily have high numbers when it comes to goals and assists, but they don't necessarily have to. If you look at the Afcon qualifiers so far, they ranked number 1 out of all African nations for the most successful crosses completed per 90 minutes, with an average of 8.3 per 90, which once again, if your 2 wingers up front are able to complete crosses like that,
No, he's got a point.
you don't necessarily need your fullbacks too. But of course, look at the likes of Noho Tolo. As we know, he's almost had 200 appearances for Seattle in the MLS. And at the end of the day, once again, such a reliable defender. As we know, defensively is extremely strong. Was part of that Seattle team that won the CONCACAF Champions League. Once again, at the end of the day, very strong, capable defensive left back. And I can't think of a better option for Cameroon. In terms of a right back, as I said, we've got the likes of Collins Faye, who is slightly more attacking than Noho Tolo. As we know, in terms of assists, got 5 in 25 games last season, so slightly more creative. But as I said, when it comes to creative ability, the attackers for Cameroon seems to deal with that. I could have gone for someone like the young Enzo Chota, once again, I think that's how you pronounce it, or Chato, who does look like a promising young player. But once again, Collins Faye brings the experience to the squad, was part of that team that came first in the African Cup of Nations and came third. So once again, to have an experienced player like him, you can't miss out on him. Now, in terms of the 2 centre-backs, I've gone for a very reliable partnership with Castelletto, and I was debating on putting Christopher Wu here, but I am going to go for Nicholas Nkulus, once again, a very reliable centre-back partnership for Cameroon. and I've actually kind of put them both in here for their partnership, because when they play together, it does seem to be Cameroon's strongest defensive partnership. Once again, just like Andre Onana, I wish someone like Joel Matip was still part of the squad, because I do think it would complete it. But looking at the likes of Castelletto, easily the best defender Cameroon have to offer at the moment. For the likes of Nancy in the French league, he's been absolutely brilliant for the last few years. He's a very strong, capable player, scored a very important goal versus Serbia at the World Cup, is very fast on his feet in terms of the reactions. He's absolutely brilliant, and when you, as I said, although he's good at defense, when you do need a goal here or there, he is able to contribute. Now, as I said, the other centre back, I was considering Christopher Wu, but looking at the likes of Nkulus, once again, I've put him there more for his partnership with Castelletto, currently playing in, I think it's the Greek league at the moment. Once again, if you want a goal or two, he can also contribute. Defensively, isn't afraid to get into a tackle and isn't afraid to kind of almost cause a foul from time to time. He's not afraid to put into a crunching tackle, which I am scared that Wu is. As we know, Wu's still incredibly young. Once again, we saw at the World Cup, although he played the full 90 minutes versus Brazil, he was afraid to make a tackle here or there. Now, of course, like any other team, one of the most important parts of this Cameroon national team is the midfield trio. Now, of course, there are many names I could have mentioned here, but I've gone for very reliable Oliver Kemen, I've gone for Hongler, and Anguissa. Once again, a beautiful midfield trio for Cameroon.
It's beautiful.
I was obviously very tempted to go for one or two others, like Pierre Kunde. I was very tempted to put the likes of Ben Elliott, a young English player who recently transferred to the Cameroon national team. But I'm quite happy with the three midfielders I've gone for. Obviously, this Cameroon national team can be very possession-based out of all African nations and qualifiers so far. They have the second highest possession rate with 63.9 per 90 minutes, or 62.9 per 90 minutes on average.
Hey, that's pretty good.
So, of course, having a midfield trio with a lot of experience that play well together is extremely important. Obviously, looking at the likes of Oliver Kemen, he's almost a player that I kind of swapped out for another. But looking at him in qualifiers so far, only playing one qualifier, and it was versus Namibia, and he did score the only goal for them. In terms of a player who's going to get goals from the midfield, I do think he is Cameroon's best option, getting 3 goals and 4 assists last season. Once again, looking at Kemen, as I said, he is the best option for them. Now playing in the Turkish league, he did get a goal in the first game of the season. And as I said, in terms of creative outlet, I do think he's the best Cameroon have to offer. Obviously, you've got the likes of Hongler in a defensive midfield position, which, once again, in terms of experience, I almost had to put him there just for that. He won't necessarily get lots of goals and assists. I would almost compare him to a player like Oliver Skip for Tottenham Hotspurs. He'll never be the best in the world necessarily, but he is very reliable on his day. He can win the ball back with the crunching tackle, and he does help the team moving forward. Looking at the likes of our third and final midfielder, as I said, I've gone for Zambo Anguissa.
And I gotta tell you, it was perfect.
The easiest option in this midfield, in my opinion, once again was part of that Napoli team last season, who won the Serie A for the first time in over 30 years. If you need a player who can play as a number 8, a number 6, or a number 10, he can absolutely do it. He can get goals and assists, he can get the crunching tackle in, he performs very well versus the top teams. We saw that versus Liverpool last season in the Champions League, and at the end of the day, Anguissa just has to be in this midfield. There's no argument about it. But of course, that does take us to our front three of this Cameroon national team. Now, yes, once again, like any other position here, there were one or two other names I could have gone for. But as our two wingers, I've gone for the likes of Carl Tucker Kambi as our left wing. I've gone for Bryan Mbeumo as my right wing. And who other than Captain Vincent Aboubakar in the striker position.
It's enough to make a grown man cry.
Once again, this attacking trio would be absolutely mental at the African Cup of Nations. As you know, Bryan Mbeumo, about a year or two ago, transferred to the Cameroon national team from France, only 24 years old at the moment, and he's been brilliant for Brentford, scoring in the first Premier League game of the season for Brentford versus Tottenham Hotspurs in that 2-2 draw, and just looking at his numbers over the last few years. Last year, getting 9 goals and 8 assists in the Prem. The season before that, 4 goals and 7 assists. He is going to be almost the perfect Ivan Toney replacement at Brentford. He's the reason why I'm not worried about Brentford without Ivan Toney. I think he's an absolutely brilliant right wing. We didn't quite see that at the World Cup for Cameroon. I haven't quite seen it for Cameroon yet. But I am sure the further he gets developed into this team and the more he works with the national team, the better he's going to get. As I said, absolutely brilliant. He's a great technical player and needs to be in the squad. As I said, as a left wing, I've gone for the likes of Akambi, which once again, very reliable player, the second top goal scorer in the recent African Cup of Nations, just under Vincent Aboubakar, and you cannot ignore him. Last season, yes, was slightly slow compared to other seasons in terms of his stats. Got 7 goals and 6 assists between the likes of Rennes and Lyon in the French league last season. But the season before that, as we know, 12 goals and 5 assists. The season before that, 14 goals and 6 assists. If you do want a player who will almost guarantee a goal and assist all the time, Karl Toko Ekambi is definitely your best option, especially how he does partner up with Vincent Aboubakar, which of course, as I said, the final player in the squad, it has to be Vincent Aboubakar, the Golden Boot winner at the recent Afcon, getting 8 goals and an assist in just 7 games. This man is a scoring machine.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
I'll still never forgive the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo got him kicked out of Al Nassr just to make space for him. Once again, absolutely unforgivable, but ever since he got kicked out and went back to Besiktas, getting something, stupid, like 17 goals and 2 assists in 16 games, or 13 goals, sorry, and 2 assists in 16 games, Vincent Aboubakar is a player who will guarantee goals pretty much all the time. I mean, I'm surprised the big Premier League team like a Fulham haven't picked him up as a Mitrovic replacement, for example. I think Vincent Aboubakar, once again, absolute monster, and the fact that he's able to keep someone like Choupo-Moting out of the squad really does speak levels. Has had 95 appearances for the Cameroon national team, so obviously starting for this team, he will reach his 100th appearance for them at the African Cup of Nations. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for what I believe the best possible starting 11 for Cameroon would be at the African Cup of Nations. As I said, yes, I know it's slightly different. There are a few other names I could have gone for in here, especially in the midfield. As I said, Ben Elliott I think is a brilliant young attacking option. Currently just moved to Reading from Chelsea under 23s, and I do feel like he could be an exciting prospect for the future. But once again, as he hasn't had that much experience, I'm not going to put him in here. As I said, Pierre Koundé could definitely go in the squad, but I do feel like the likes of Oliver Kemen is a slightly better attacking option. But of course, guys, this is just my opinion based off of the research and stats that I've looked up. If you guys have any disagreements, let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know how you think Cameroon will do at Afcon 2023. Well, as I said, at this stage in time, it's if they go to the competition. I do think they'll end up qualifying. They've got some brilliant players in their squad. It just depends how they put things together. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for today's video. I hope that you did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Tell me which nation I should do next. And this has been Finn, FYNN.